Hello and good morning here from Charleston, West Virginia. I am Justin Bird, the owner of Roofing America, and as you might have read in the title of this video, we are going to learn today how to accurately measure roofs from Google Earth, and the keyword there being accurately. So a lot of guys know or think they know how to measure with Google Earth, but there's the majority of people that I see that do this are doing it completely wrong and shorting themselves um, pretty significantly with their final total. And if you're off just a little bit in this industry, prices ranging from $300 to $400 or $500 a square, it doesn't take much for you to be in the red quite a bit. So anyway, you might be asking yourself, why are we at a football field if we're going to learn how to measure roofs? The answer is very simple. I'm going to show you or hopefully dispel a common myth that Google Earth is not very accurate, and actually, and we're going to do that by measuring this field. But first, I do want to say that you should probably never order a roof off this or only go by this number that you come up with, because it isn't 100% accurate, but it does give you the ability to kind of get a good idea of what you're looking at. If you've received a call from a homeowner that lives very far away, or maybe you've been to this particular home before, and when you get back to figure up or whatever, you're missing a measurement or whatever. So this is pretty accurate. However, I do not recommend completely trusting these numbers 100%. One of the biggest problems that you're going to run into with measuring with Google Earth is human error. So, and I'll kind of get into that just a little bit. But first off, let's go ahead and measure this field, and I'll kind of explain the error as we're doing that. But if you want to measure with Google Earth, the first thing you do obviously is you got to download the application to your computer, or actually have a version on my phone. And then you go up and you look for this little ruler or whatever, and it'll bring this up, and you can change the different units of measure here. Obviously, we want to use feet when we're measuring a roof, but right now we're going to switch it to yards just for ease of simplicity. Now, the human error that I was talking about, most of the mistakes you're going to have, or most of the inaccuracies, are going to be due to human error, and that's going to be things like right here, where I put this cursor is going to relate to what number pops up here. So this technology is actually 100% accurate, or very, very close, 99.9 repeating probably. But you see, one of the big issues is, do I put my cursor on the right spot? And we'll go from goal line to goal line, and see what that gives us. 100.05 yards, and that is extremely close. If we put that in the feet, we see it's 300 feet, and then 14% of another foot. So not very off at all. But the error in this is most likely where I've sat this cursor. It could be the quality of the picture. That it could be that this picture is not really relating what is in reality as well as it should. But you can see here, it's very accurate. 300 feet or 100 yards. Okay, so let's go ahead and go look at a roof. All right, so we are here at the house that we plan to measure, and there's a couple things that we're going to look at first. A lot of times, right in here somewhere, there will be a date, and that tells you the date of that the image was taken. So this right here is actually not the date that these images were taken. If you click here, it will actually take you, and show you what's changed since that time. It's showing you that it can go back that far, but obviously we want to go up to as far as we can, and then we can see by doing that that it brings up that date and tells us that it is in fact 2015 when these images were taken. Now, just a word of advice, a lot of guys will kind of do this to see what color a roof is. They've got a homeowner that's called and said, oh, I've got a shingle missing. They get on here and they look, say, oh, that's estate gray from Owens Corning, and they go buy a bundle of estate gray, and they get out there and the roof is different. So a lot can change in 5 years, a lot can change in 1 year. It really depends. So you need to be aware of that. Okay, so but the first thing we're going to do when we're trying to measure this roof, and I'm going to show you kind of what I like to do. What I like to do is to get a nice overhead view of the roof, nice and straight. Now, that's another good piece of advice. Make sure that you're not like this. Make sure you're straight down as far as you can get, and then also try to zoom in as much as you can as well. So that's going to help you be as close as you can and kind of dissolve some of those accuracies we were talking about with the photographs. It's going to be the best you can get it. Now, if you zoom in too much, it's going to try to take you to street view, and it's very irritating to have that happen. So I like to go ahead and first things first, I like to, and I've got a separate sheet of paper here. I'm going to draw this roof from this eagle eye view in 2 dimensions. So that top part, I'm just going to draw a rectangle and split it right down the middle. And then on the back, I'm going to draw a rectangle, and I'm going to draw the 2 hips, just like you would a normal drawing. Same thing on the front. So now I've kind of already got my my sketch here. And one thing, just kind of briefly before moving forward, one thing that you're not going to really be able to tell either, a lot of times, is these chimneys. Some of these pipes, obviously we can see they're there. Sometimes when we go into street view, we'll be able to see these a little clearer. And just a lot of you guys that's done this type of work before, roofing work, when you see a chimney, you can kind of tell it's a 2x3 or whatever. But you're going to probably miss a pipe, or maybe not be able to see some box vents that are up there, or and whatever. And I think it goes without saying, we can't really tell the quality of the sheathing or the decking, the roof decking. There's a lot of things that we really can't do with this. This is strictly for getting a measurement. So anyway, so we're going to go ahead and use this measure tool, and we're going to go for now this ridge measurement is going to usually be pretty accurate, and I like to go from the furthest to the furthest in this image. So you can see on this side, it looks to be slightly shorter than this, but let's use the longest just for safe practice. Now you're going to notice you're not seeing the yellow thing, and that's where this is an issue. Now what Google is doing is it is measuring the ground. It's measuring a straight flat line, which obviously does not account for the slope of this roof. So again, put your cursor where it goes, click it and pull it. It's going over here. It's racking up the total over there. Just make sure that you're, don't let that bother you. One other thing, when you're measuring, don't, try to make it nice and square with the roof line. Don't be bringing your cursor down here and trying to measure the ridge that way. If you start up here and come straight across, make it in a nice straight line. So we get 34.62 for this ridge. And I might actually add on to this me going down to this house and actually measuring it and seeing how close this is. But then we're going to do another measurement, which we're going to measure down this rake here, down these rafter links here, and we get 13.82 on that side. And then on this side, we're getting 12.66. So that's interesting. Which one are we going to use? We've looked at the street view of this house. It looks to be the same on both sides. So clearly we've got an issue here. It's clearly the same on both sides. So what are we going to do with those two numbers? Well, one thing that we can do is we can add them together, and let's go ahead and do that real quick. We can add them together, which is 12.66 plus this 13.82, and then we've got two numbers, so let's divide that by 2, and we can get an average of 13.24. So this is the best way that I found to do that. It seems to be, and I know you can't see my hands, I keep doing things with my hands over here, so but this image is actually probably just slightly cocked one way or the other, to where it's like the house is leaning in the photograph, even though obviously it's not in real life. So that's why you're getting a difference in those. But like I said, I like to add the two numbers together and divide them by 2. That gives me the average of the both sides. So I've got 13.24 here. All right, now let's go ahead and measure these 2 porches. And usually, you know, especially looking the street view, try to see what your overhang is. And we'll go ahead and do that just to be good, for good practice here. But you know, and again, if you've been doing this a while, when you look at something like some of these houses, you say, well, that's a foot overhang there, and or that's a 24-inch over wherever. You know, obviously this has no overhang, so we don't have to worry about that. So let's get back in position here. See what I was saying? Irritating. All right. So let's get down here. We're going to measure out that way. 6.84. From this corner to this, across this front here, 21.15. Okay, and then if you really want to be all about it, .91, which well, on a porch this small, typically you're going to be, unless it's super steep, you're going to be able to take this length and this width and multiply those together and not really worry about the pitch. It's going to give you a very, very close representation to that actual square footage, as opposed to individually dissecting each individual bit, coming up the height for this, and then the width, and then the height, and then the width. But to be good stewards, we're going to do that. And so we got 6.84 on the width, and the height on this one we got 6. Let's do that again. I didn't write it down. 6.94, and then going across this way, which this is probably pretty square, so it's probably all the same number that we're measuring here, 6.99. So yeah, I've got 6.84, 6.94, and 6.99. So again, if you wanted to do the average of those 3, that's going to cut down on, it's going to kind of give you a constant number. Yeah, let's go ahead and get this one, 6.92. This porch is probably the same size. 21.59. Yeah, so I got 21.15 on the other one. Okay, so you know, let's go ahead and figure up the square footage on this. Hopefully you've been writing these numbers down. I'm probably put them on the screen at the end of this. But let's go here and let's go ahead and figure up the porches first. And I'm going to do it the way that I showed you, the kind of the shortcut way. Just the length and the width. 21.15 times 6.84 is 144.67. Okay, and then on the top we decided to go with 13.24 times 34.62. It's 458 on each side. Now some of you guys are probably thinking that this is what I'm showing you. This is not. This is the wrong way. So keep watching. It's just going to take a few more minutes, and I'm going to show you why this way doesn't. Why it's extremely off. So 458.37 on both sides. 458.37. Then the back. 1.59 times 6.92 equals 149.4. Okay, so let's add up all of our numbers here. 149.4 plus 458 So we come up with 12, 10, 81, 1,210 feet and 0.81. All right, so here's why this is flawed. When we first started measuring, we measured from here to here. Now, if you recall earlier when I told you that Google measures straight across the ground level, and it doesn't account for that pitch, that's the entire issue. Google does not account for the pitch. So this slope is actually much longer than the 13.24 that we our average that we came up. So let's go ahead and get into Street View. What we need to do is find the pitch of this roof, and I guess that's probably what this video should have been called, how to find the pitch of a roof on Google Images, but I like to complicate things. So anyway, so here we got a nice straight front view of the house. We're going to do Control Function Print Screen. I like to use Microsoft Paint. It works for what I do here. So let's go ahead and copy the image. And I don't know why my computer's acting up. I don't know if you can see that on the video, excuse me, or not. But we're going to do that. We're going to go to excuse me, we're going to go to Pitch Calculator. I like this one by omnicalculator.com. It works for exactly what we need here. So let's go ahead and what we actually found out when we were coming up with that number, what we thought was the rafter length, we were actually coming up with the run of that roof. So we were thinking we were measuring down this, but really Google measured, Google was measuring from here to here. It wasn't measuring down at that angle. So we need to find this this pitch. So I went ahead and opened up our calculator. That's for the next step. Let's type in protractor. This is a super quick way to do this, and I'm going to show you another way that also works. But if we grab a protractor here, and be careful, some of these I've messed with and they're tilted slightly. So the one that I typically like to use, I like to use this one here. It's nice and square at the bottom, or not that one, sorry. This one, nice and square at the bottom. Just paste that into your image. I'll zoom in just a little bit, and I like to just take a nice yellow line here that I can see really well, and I'm going to go up here to the very peak, and I'm going to pull this out really long so that it works. It's long enough for my protractor, and I'm not clicking down on it so that it doesn't set it in place. I can still move it. We're at a little white dot right there, and we can see that the pitch of this roof is 39 degrees. Okay, so let's take that and let's just write that down over here, because I'm going to show you another method while we're here. Let's write that down, 39 degrees. Okay, now here's the second method. You can actually take this highlight tool or whatever, and you can go right up to the very peak and come across down here, across the run onto the very end of the right where the eave is here, and you'll notice down here there's some numbers, and those numbers correspond to the size of this triangle, or this rectangle, I'm sorry. So if you go left to right, which would be your run, that's on the left, and if you go up and down, that's your rise, and it's on the right. So one thing about finding the pitch and your rise and run and all that is it can be literally any unit. It doesn't have to be in feet. It doesn't have to be, you know, whatever. I literally used to take my I would take and draw a triangle on my drawings, and over time I figured out kind of the best way to do these things. But I would literally take a triangle like this, and I would zoom in, and I would take my eraser tool, I would mark it a certain color, and I would go in here and make it as small as it would go. For the more units that you have, the more potential to be accurate. And I would literally sit here and do this across all the way down to the bottom. Then I'd come over here and do it all the way across, and I would count them up, and I'd say, well, all right, there's 19 here, and there's 25 here, and that would even work. It's just a measure of unit, or a unit of measure. It doesn't matter what the unit is. So you can take this box, and remember, rise is on the right and run is on the left, and you can take it and run it out this way, and 190 and 153. You can go back to your pitch calculator and put those numbers in. So your run was 190, and that tells you that this roof is a 9.6. Typically roofs aren't in between like that, so again, these numbers aren't exactly perfect, but they're pretty close. So that's probably a 10. Now let's go back to let's see how many degrees. 39. Well, right here we go. It's got 38 degrees. Is that? So what's 39 degrees? 9.7, a little closer, right? So that's really how you find the pitch. Now let's see how much that changes those measurements that we had. So let's go ahead and erase all this stuff. And if we plug in those rafter lengths that we thought we were measuring first in our run here, which was 13.24, and then we put that on a 10-12 pitch, wow, that's 4 feet difference. That's quite a bit. So let's go ahead and plug that number in, which is 17.24. 4 feet off. Wow. Okay. Excuse me. And let's go ahead and go back to our calculator. Now this is only going to affect that top portion. Like I said, the horizontal measurements when you're measuring across the ridge, those are actually very accurate. And the way that we measured those front porches or the front porch and the back porch was using that same type of measure. So there wasn't an issue, where we were, doing it that way. One of my dad's roofing, I'm sorry everybody, one of my dad's roofing advertisements has come up. I said, I think I've done that roof. I did this roof. So that's funny. The roof doctor, it's not showing up very good here. But anyway, let's go ahead and plug in these numbers. So 17.24 times 3462 on our ridge is 596.85. Remember, that's on both sides. So let's go ahead and mark out our other numbers here. 596.85. Plus our porch, 149.4 plus 144.67. So we are at 1487.77. Now our original number that we got was 1210.81. Okay, so we're 276 square feet off, and that's over $1,000. That's a lot to be off that much. So just keep these things in mind, and remember, this isn't going to be 100% accurate. So don't be given. I wouldn't be given any actual estimates that I was obligated to do it for the price that I told them over the phone. What I've done with this in times past is when I get a call from somebody that's 50-60 miles away, I'll kind of vet them a little bit and make sure that I'm not making a trip out there for nothing, and I'll kind of say, hey, I'll make sure that they know it's a ballpark, and but I know it's pretty close, so I kind of tell them that the price off of that, and just see if they hang up on me or tell me to go ahead and still come out and measure, and that's kind of a good way to use this. And again, if you miss a measurement doing something else, it's a great way to you missed one of these measurements here, or if your drawing doesn't have enough information to find a missing number, you can do that very well. One last thing I want to talk to you guys about is my wife and I got saved a while back, and we try to tell everybody to repent of their sins and follow Jesus Christ. So in these crazy times that's going on right now with the coronavirus and everything, it's a great time. It's always been a great time. It'll, as long as you're still breathing, it'll be a great time. to get right with the Lord. You may not have tomorrow, and that's something that you know, you need to consider. If you died right now, where would you go? So anyway, thank you for watching this video. You guys have a great day, and God bless you.